did you know goldenrod makes an excellent tea?
Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday, dear Aaron.
Me. You are a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity.
Or what's inside. You suck. Finally, we're going to reveal the... Hey everybody, welcome back to Tomic's veteran of the comic book industry for 30 years I'm a writer, I'm an artist, and this sucks.
Stew, and her name is Minerva. Ouch. She's the flower of the flower. Ouch.
Don't start! We haven't left yet!
Welcome everybody. It is time for Aaron Live, the show that's always live when it's on. So what happened was there was this concert film, David Gilmore at Circus Maximus. Of course, David Gilmore is the former lead singer and lead guitarist of Pink Floyd. And so they had this showing tonight. There's only like 2 nights they were showing it, and it couldn't make it the last one. And this was the last chance to see it. And the only showing was at 3:00. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to this. So my daughter and I went and rocked out, and I'll review the movie in a little bit. And so then of course I said, well, I'm going to have to shift the show back. And so it didn't have anything to do with grandkids. Grandkids are tomorrow on Monday. So anyway, so that's why I'm late. Then I had to come home and make dinner. You know how it goes. And then I said, I'm doing the show, baby. I'm doing it late night. Now, if you're on the West Coast, it's not that late. It's, 7:40. But I understand if you're on the East Coast time, 10:40 right now, it's a little late for Sunday night, especially if you got to get up and work tomorrow. But I appreciate all of you hanging in there and joining me on this fine evening. So welcome everybody. Let's see where, so I've been waiting a long time, years. I've been talking about, we got to replace the grass in the front yard. Now we have a very tiny front yard, so it wasn't that big of a project. There's a dog back there, watch out. And, I just happened to hire a guy that would do the yard, but he also poured concrete. And we had like this, I guess when we moved in, there was like grass along the side of our driveway, like 4 feet of grass along the side of the house. And I was like, man, I've wanted that concreted forever. We finally did it. So we got the concrete and the sod on Saturday. And I keep going outside of my house to go, look, our front yard looks nice for the first time in 15 years. It hasn't been that long, but it's been a while. So that was exciting happenings around here. Of course, now I'm super broke, but in fact, I'm so broke, I can't buy any more comics for a while. It's very sad, but that's the way it is. Although I still look, because you never know. You can't pass up an awesome deal, even if you can't afford it. But I'll do my best to pass up on any deal at this point. All right, so let's get on with this, shall we? Creative Faye is here. She said, I was thinking of going to bed. It's 7:30. Do you have to like get up at like 5 in the morning or something for work. Creative Faye wants to know, when was, out of curiosity, what was the first piece of fan art you received and when did it happen? I don't know. I know it was from a kid. When was that? Every once in a while, like when I was working at Marvel, when I started in the early 90s, they were still doing letters pages and people were still writing in letters and stuff. I got something about Forbish Man. I can't remember, but I remember they would forward the mail, oh, we got this letter for you, and they'd send it to you. Dang, that's a good question. It's been a long time ago. I haven't gotten a ton, not like Jim Lee or anything, but every once in a while I get a kid would draw a picture. Who was it? Somebody in Britain. I can't remember who it was, but he's an artist, and I think it's his young son, not his daughter. I hope he did a drawing of Wraith after the first issue of Wraith of God, and sent that. So that was really cute. But occasionally, you get a piece here and there. But the first one, tough to remember. Amoral Fat 40 Ounces is here. Thanks for joining us. Marcus Killer Group, purveyor of all things pop culture and knowledge, is joining us. Corey Landis is there. This is Aaron Alive. I guess he's referring to Frankenstein Alive, maybe. Leg Kick is here because Leg Kick is almost always here. Even when I shift the time without any notification, Leg Kick almost always will find a way to wander in. And here he is again. Apex Comics joining us. Ezad says, I see you made it. I did indeed. Corey Landis, twice as many grandkids, twice as long to babysit them. That is true. But like I said, that won't be happening until tomorrow. This was all on me. I actually can blame Regal Cinemas for only showing that concert film one time today. So I was hoping it was like at 7 o'clock. I could have done the show, gone to the movie, but no, it was right in the middle of the day. What are you going to do? Let's see here. There's Lord Hinson Comic Skater. Says, hey, Aaron, hello. Pastmaster Dan is here, of course. Let's see. Kettle Black is joining us. Ella Campbell, my daughter's best friend, or one of her two best friends. I don't know. It depends on what day it is, but she's right up there at the top. She says, hello, Mr. Ella. I hope all is well with you and your family and your yard. Everything is good, Ella. Appreciate it very much. Ella's trying to get me to pay for her trip to Europe, so she's being particularly nice to me. But I don't think that's going to work. But I do appreciate it, Ella. Thanks for joining. Ink on Paper is here. Will Holloway says, I have to get up at 4:30 to be at work at 6, and it's 9:43 over here in Central Time. Sorry, man. I'm sorry, but, David Gilmore, come on, man. Ella now claiming she's always this nice. Yeah. Pity Maw's here. She says, hail, Chad. Hail, Aaron. My mom is over. Just showed her the beautiful Swamp Thing artwork. She's already searching for a frame to match your beauty. When you say my beauty, if you're referring to the artwork, not me, myself. But I find that amazing that your mom would be like, oh, that Swamp Thing, that's so nice. I mean, that's something my mom would say, but because she's my mom. I haven't seen that one. And I'll tell you why, because, you could make an argument that Roger Waters is the brains behind Pink Floyd, but I don't know. David Gilmore contributed a lot to that band as a guitarist and as a lead singer. And I assume that he wrote a lot of the music. I know Waters wrote a lot of the lyrics and a lot of the music, but I think David Gilmore had something to do with that too, because he sang a lot of, I'm getting ahead of myself, but he sang a lot of songs from his latest album. I'd never heard any of them. and they were all really good. So there you go. I haven't seen a lot of concert films. A lot of like, the Stones had one, like Gimme Shelter, wasn't that what it's called? And I know that the band had one that Scorsese directed, I think. And I've seen The Kids Are All Right, which is the Who movie. That's not really, I guess it was a concert movie, but it had like backstage stuff. This was just, they filmed a concert. And so anyway, like I said, we'll get to it. Yeah, Marcus Killiger says Gilmore didn't always get along with Waters. Well, they're not getting along now, apparently. Last I heard, they're not talking. So there it is, the band, The Last Waltz. That's what it was. So yeah, there's some, and I've seen, of course, Woodstock, which is a trip. That movie, it's epically long. I mean, epically long, but it's quite a film. So this in Spinal Tap is hilarious. And I know they're doing a sequel. So, Will Holloway, I'm so jealous. Saw Floyd live in the 80s. Wow. Apex says The Who is currently playing a few concert dates this year. I didn't know that. Well, anyway, so like I said, we'll get to the Gilmore thing in a minute. But first, let's do this.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Yeah, Trader Joe's s'mores clusters. You're probably saying to yourself, Aaron, that's really not good for you. You shouldn't be eating that. But it's only 180 calories for 3 pieces. Now, I've already had 2, so I've got to finish it off and have the third and have my serving for the day of 180 calories. These are fantastic. The interesting thing about Trader Joe's that I really like is I thought because it's such a boutique-y little market that their food is really expensive, but it isn't. Now their meat is, but everything else is like remarkably reasonably priced. And I think that's because all of their stuff in there is Trader Joe's brand. It's probably why. I mean, they don't have a huge selection, but they have the best assortment of snacks you're ever going to find anywhere. And they're reasonably priced. So there you go. What more could you possibly want? So I'm digging into this. So like graham cracker, chocolate, marshmallow. Are you kidding me? Come on, man. Now, I'm not a big marshmallow fan because that's just like pure fluffy sugar, but you put all that stuff together and from there. Goody Two Shoes for $5. Thank you, sir. Just came from watching Zia in a bikini. Eric Lopez better live up to it. I don't even know who that is, but I can't. If you were watching a young lady with a good bod in a bikini, I can't do that. I'm working on the old guns, but it's not that great right now. Well, I'm eating this. Let's take a look at what Frazetta has to offer us today, shall we? Pretty simple drawing. Nice red cape, draws your eye in. It's a nice, I still think it's a nice dramatic piece. Big, thick Frazetta horses. Those things look like these guys are all riding Clydesdales, but you know, it's an average Frazetta piece, but not one that I dislike. I mean, I like it. I like it enough to put it on this show. So anyway, but not much to say about it. Of course, it was used for, and again, I don't know if it was specifically painted for that Burroughs cover or if it was just used for the Burroughs cover at a later date, because the book was published in 1978. But it was a Burroughs. It's pretty remarkable how many different titles and stories and characters that Burroughs is responsible for. You know, he was very prolific. Of course, you know, that stuff was all pulp magazine stuff. So I guess they were just, back in the day, man, they're churning that stuff out. But yeah, I mean, they did Tarzan, John Carter of Mars sort of caught people's interests. And then, you know, then Pellucidar, and then Venus, and Outlaw of Torn, you know. So yeah, I don't really know the point of that was, but Burroughs prolific and had a lot of stuff. I haven't read a ton of his stuff, to be honest with you, outside of John Carter of Mars, and a couple of Pellucidar books. So I don't know if they're if they're like repetitive or not. You know, if he was just churning out the same stuff with a different character name on it. But maybe someday when I'm old and retired, and have a bunch of free time on my hand, I'll sit around and read a few more. Hong Kong Fooey says Gilmore's contribution to Pink Floyd is great, singing and guitar work, but yes, Waters was a creative genius. Yeah, I'll go along with that. Kettleback says you want Aaron in a bikini. You do not want Aaron in a bikini. Well, Apex is recommending Spinal Tap 2. So Styrofoam, Aaron. Oh, that's freaking hilarious. I haven't done that in a while. Let's see here. Art of Roy says, slowly losing me as a viewer with his eating on cam, Aaron. At least I'm not eating SpaghettiOs out of a can. Will Holloway says, I'm getting fat just watching you eat that. Killigrew, though, I'll go in the opposite direction. I've lost over 20 pounds. You know, since I started working out again full time in April-ish, I haven't lost an ounce. I have shifted my body weight, certainly, but I haven't lost any because I haven't changed my eating habits, which are still not great. I mean, I don't sit around and eat candy all day. Usually, well, okay, that's not true. But, you know, I eat light breakfast, I eat a light lunch, and then but I think it's that snacking that is keeping me down. I mean, if I really was committed, I could, and I've done it before. I mean, I'm not that, you know, I'm probably 15 pounds overweight, so I'm not like, you know, out of control or anything, but I would like to lose that 15, but apparently I wouldn't like it enough to stop eating like cake. Let's see here. Stealth X5 says hello. Thanks, Stealth. Appreciate it. Your artwork's in the mail if you haven't received it already. Look, Kirk Warren's here. Says that's a draft horse. Let's see here. Hong Kong Fu says that's almost as good as Death Dealer. That's high praise right there. Did I say Josh Carter? I didn't say Josh Carter, did I? I said John Carter. Did I say Josh? Kettleback says, yeah, gaming with a group of people. You want to say hello, but that means you die. Gaming. Corey Landis, your muscles weigh more than you're fat. Aaron Stud. I used to be. I'm trying to, you know, I mean, I think you can only reach certain heights when you hit 60. I mean, Graham's doing a pretty good job, obviously. But I had a surgically repaired shoulder, so I'm limited in how much weight I can push. So we'll see. Shelly said, "Oh my gosh, you're starting to fill out that shirt again." I was like, "You know it, baby." Oh, Apex. Okay, says no. Someone in the chat said Josh Carter. Okay. Okay. Well, I'm in trouble there again. You know, we had pizza last night, and I don't know. I was up working on some of the Wraith of God stuff, and I went downstairs, and it's like you're not even hungry, but as soon as you walk by the refrigerator, you're like, what's in here? And we had leftover pizza in there, and I like ate half a piece at 11 o'clock at night or 11:30 at night. I was heading to bed, and I was just like, man, Trader Joe's also has sparkling water in a can. This is actually pretty good. Makes you burp a lot, which is not, of course, great for TV either. Jiminy Cricket says, I don't see Jiminy at all anymore unless I'm later at night, which is I'm not on late very much. But there's Jiminy. Says Billy Carter, drunk brother of Mars. No, I didn't pick the toppings off it. I just it was like it was a piece like this, and I cut it in half, and so. Are you kidding me? Eric Lopez, I looked for your credits tomorrow and DC and couldn't find any. Well, if you're looking under Eric Lopez, you probably aren't going to find a lot. That should be my my pseudonym, Get a little work at Marvel and DC during the lean months and go as Eric Lopez, see if they'd hire me. Of course, the problem was you can't really trick anybody because you have to. It's not like the good old days where maybe you could go in there and they'd write you a check and you could leave. I mean, it's just like they got to have your bank account information, direct deposit address, and obviously your social security number and all that kind of stuff. So you can't really. You can tell them your name's something, but they're going to find out that it's really not. So I'd actually have to I couldn't even use my son because Lopresti's a dead giveaway. It's not like there's a ton of Lopresti's drawing comics. Anyway, enough about that. Let's talk a little bit about this movie right here. So this was shot last year at an appearance he made at the Circus Maximus in Rome, which was a big, what do you call it? It's not a Coliseum, but it's where they used to have chariot races. And they still don't have the steps or anything like that. They just sort of have this kind of ravine area where the track must have been. And so they just used one end of it, right? And had this big stage built up. I guess they had, what did they say, 22,000 people there for it. And he was touring last year, and I wanted to go see him, but he only came to the United States to do LA and New York. And so, not that, I'm sitting there going, yeah, David Gilmore's going to go to Portland, Oregon, but I might have gone up to Seattle if he'd, done that. Big Pink Floyd fan. And, I'm becoming just a big David Gilmore fan. His guitar playing ability is freaking awesome. And so they filmed this last year. He was 78 years old. And I'm like, there's a bunch of YouTube videos going around the interwebs with him at Pompeii. But that was 14 years ago. It was 2000 or 11 years ago, or so. It was 2014 or something like that. So he was, 67, which is still 7 years older than I am right now. And he was pretty sharp, but I was stunned at how good he was at 78 years old. His singing voice was still easily good enough. How you get some of these guys get older and they can't sing. He was still doing it, and his guitar playing was unbelievable for a guy his age. It was unbelievable. Unbelievable for most people, but for, I was like, his solo on Comfortably Numb, which of course they ended the show with, wasn't quite as good as, if you haven't seen the Comfortably Numb video on YouTube of him at Pompeii, it's freaking unbelievable. This was really good, but it wasn't quite as good, but the guy's like 78. And there was some Pink Floyd songs in there, 5 or 6 probably. But most of it was his latest album, which I guess he released last year. And that's what he was touring about. There was a ton. I mean, I can't think of one song that I didn't like. And I'd never heard. So most, like 2/3 of this concert was his new material. And every single one of them had a great lead in it. I was blown away. As far as concert films goes, it was like, I mean, if you don't like Pink Floyd, you probably wouldn't like it. But if you do, this is like, for me, a 5-star experience. And now here's the other interesting thing here. Well, there's a lot of interesting things. This is David Gilmore here, 78-year-old David Gilmore. This is David Gilmore's 23-year-old daughter. Okay, you do the math. So he had her when he was 65, which means, now that's his youngest child, I guess. And so she performed with him, and she had a great voice too. And but if he had her when he was 65, his wife has to be significantly younger than him, which kudos for being a rock star, baby. So good on him. But anyway, so that was really interesting because my daughter and I were like, because he introduced her as, I can't remember her first name, but Gilmore. And we're like, wait a minute, is that his daughter? Then I looked at him and said, is that his granddaughter? It's his daughter. So good on him, but she's quite talented. And that was the other thing I was going to say about this as a concert experience. It was so well done. The backup singers were money. They had his daughter and then 2 other girls, I think were sisters, women were sisters. And then the third one was this black gal who played the piano and did the, from that song from Dark Side of the Moon. What was it called? I just went out of my head. But anyway, so they were they were really good. It wasn't like, you're going to see Kiss or something, at 70 years old, and you're like, geez. The sound was beautiful. The singing was fantastic. The music, the craftsmanship of the musicians, all of them. The drummer was a younger guy, and he had a guitar player that was playing with him here. This is a younger guy, but his bassist was an old dude, and he had a couple of keyboard players. One of them was an older dude, and they were just sharp, man. I couldn't believe it. It wasn't sloppy at all. And I sat there and I said to my daughter afterwards, I go, man, they must have put some hours and hours of practice, because they were a well-oiled machine for the stage show. And there was about 15 minutes at the beginning of the film where they show David Gilmore, and he goes, I'm David Gilmore, and I'm a effing legend. And then they went into this sort of, showing you around Rome a little bit and some of the backstage stuff. Not a ton, so you're getting bored, but it was just enough to kind of make it interesting. And then they went into the concert. And so this film is 2 hours and 20 minutes long. So, and I guess if you happened to be in Rome when he did this concert, or in Pompeii when he did the concert, and you're spending, I'm sure, a couple $100 or more for a piece for those tickets, you want the guy to show up and be good, which he was, and do a long show, which he did. And I really thought it was good. I was really blown away. I didn't know what to expect, but you don't expect to see a 78-year-old rocker be that sharp. And he was. It was really impressive. Apex wants to know who played drums. I go, I don't remember the guy's name. They showed it at the end of the film. I'd never heard of him. Younger guy though, blonde guy with beard, and he was very good. Everybody on that was just, I mean, they had some good musicians up there and some good singers. It was just really well done. Well, you know, that's a funny thing. He said, never liked Great Gig in the Sky till I saw it live. Love it now. Seeing songs performed live, if they're done well live, can really change your perspective on just like if you listen to them on the radio or you listen to them on a record and you go, eh. But once you attach a live performance to it, it can make them way better. Now, Hong Kong Phooey. Hong Kong Phooey, okay. Kiss concerts sucked. They can't sing or play their instruments. Well, I went and saw Kiss live on their first farewell tour in the 90s when they were still like, I think they were in their 50s or something. So it was actually really good. And I'll tell you then, Ace Frehley looked like he was about ready to fall over. He was just like, you know, stumbling. I mean, too much drugs and alcohol, I'm sure. I don't want to, you know, I don't know that for a fact, but I would assume that's probably true. Peter Criss was in the band. I mean, it was the original band. And he's up there going, if I hear you call it. I mean, they were still young enough in their old age at that point that it was still a pretty good concert. I can't even imagine seeing them like 10 years after that or even now. I mean, are they touring now? I can't even believe that they are, if they are, but they probably are. I mean, if the money's out there, they'll do it. Right. So, the other thing that was kind of cool, this doesn't really show it that well, but they had an incredible, and it's like Pink Floyd shows, right? They would, you know, I never been to one, but I've seen, you know, concert footage and stuff. They have quite a laser show going on and visuals behind them in a screen. And this was a really top-notch event. And I'm sure, you know, if you're going to do something like that at a major historical venue like that, you know, and you're playing in front of that many people and you're going to film it, you want to make it good. And that was really cool. You sat there and going, man, I wish I could have been there for the real thing. It was just, I highly recommend it if you can find a way to see it. And I'm a fan of his new album. The songs on there, I was just like, I never heard this before. That's awesome. And like all of them, even some of them started off slow, a lot of times like Floyd songs will, but then by the end it starts building, and then he goes in, you know, almost every song just had this incredible lead guitar solo by him. And you're just like, it doesn't matter what came before that. You're just like, okay, now the song is cooking. So anyway, why do these old super rich rock stars keep on working? I figured they would just retire and spend their money. You know, we used to say that, like, why are you guys still touring? Why are you doing this? No one wants to see this. The fact of the matter is they do. And I just think people get so used. I mean, I think it's narcissism. Let's be honest. They're so used to being in the limelight. They're so used to the adoration of fans, right? That they just can't walk away from it, you know, and they'll go up there and play till they drop dead on stage, probably. Look at Frankie Valli. Was it Frankie Valli? Yeah, it was Frankie Valli. That was, I think, I mean, Ethan talks about going to his concert. Have you ever seen the concert footage recently? Did he just pass away? I think he may have, but like not too long ago, he was 80 some years old. He couldn't sing, and he would like scoot out on stage like this. And then he would mouth really badly the song. They would just play it. He'd lip sync it, and people would pay to see this. And it was really kind of sad, I thought, but you know, and always you see bands like, oh, Kansas is playing at the state fair, and you're like, man, if I was, you know, played arenas and I was, was playing state fairs, unless I was broke, I don't know that I would do it. I think I would say, you know what, I'm gonna step away. Now, if you're David Gilmore and you can go to Pompeii or Circus Maximus and draw 22,000 people. Heck yeah, I'd keep doing it, especially he's still good. So well, this is true. These old musicians are also artists. I mean, people could say, why don't you retire, Aaron? If I had any money, I probably would. The thing is, if you still got something in you, and see, that's the thing. David Gilmore is not just going around singing Pink Floyd songs. He's got a new album. And from what I heard on this movie, there's some pretty good stuff on there. So, if you still got something to offer, why not? But I would never accuse, I always said Kiss, I always described Kiss as garbage rock and roll, because do they really have a song that has any depth to it at all? No, but they have some catchy, rock tunes, and, so they're fun. It's just like bubblegum, but for rock and roll or heavy rock, or what do you want to call it? They're not heavy metal, but, loud rock. But they're a gimmicky band, and when you're like 90 years old and running around with makeup on, come on. But then who am I to criticize? Gene Simmons got a lot more money than I do. William Wellborn says, I saw The Who in 2004, which is still 20 years ago, right? So they would have been, those guys got to be pushing 80 as well, right? So they would probably in their late 50s, maybe. Yeah. And that's not bad, really. I mean, if you're 20, you're like, well, that's what we said when we were in high school. Why are these guys still touring? They're 40 years old. They're so old, But yeah, I think you start getting into your 60s. And I mean, well, okay. Roger Daltrey, not, in my opinion, not a great singer. Great screamer, but not a great singer. So, same with Mick Jagger, not a good singer. And so it's like, it's not like they're getting worse with age. I mean, so maybe their ability to scream at the top of their lungs, like Roger Daltrey did, is inhibited some. But so I guess what I'm saying is, seeing them when they're old maybe isn't going to be as bad. But that's what I was so impressed with Gilmore, is that he was still hitting the notes. And I was just, like I said, I was very impressed. So you're giving the thumbs up to that, to my Siskel and Ebert review of David Gilmore at the Circus Maximus. So, whoa! My brother saw The Who at Hollywood Bowl last night. Wow. All right. Hey. But that's the thing. If you're The Who and you go to the Hollywood Bowl and sell that out, of course, why wouldn't you keep doing it? You're not going to see The Who show up at, hey, Oregon State Fair featuring The Who. You're like, no, that's not going to happen. So, but Kansas did. We're supposed to be at the state fair. No, I'm sorry. Cheap Trick was our state fair this year. And who was, the Beach Boys were going to be there, right? And my daughter's like, we got to go see the Beach Boys. I go, Brian Wilson died. There are no Beach Boys. And she's like, well, whoever's left. And I'm like, I'm not going to go. Why would you go see I don't know. I wouldn't go see the Beach Boys without Brian Wilson. And then they canceled because apparently they had booked this before he died. And I don't know why they waited till 2 weeks before they're supposed to perform to cancel it, but they did. So. Look at that. Marcus Kilgore. My son is interning at Oregon State as a vet. How about that? They do have a good veterinary school there, don't they? Animal husbandry and engineering, where my son went for engineering, not animal husbandry. I always hated that title. It's like animal husbandry. I just don't like the way that sounds. Cheap Trick is America's house band, according to Alice Cooper. Okay. Well, here's an interesting thing. I always thought Robin Zander was underrated as a singer. The guy on the radio that was promoting the Cheap Trick thing on our classic rock station here was like, he goes, Robin Zander, man, he can still sing. So I don't know. So maybe they were good, but I don't know, man. I don't know. You book something at a state fair. Maybe if you're a country band, maybe that doesn't feel quite as bad, but as a rock venue, I don't know. Okay. Yeah. Elton John said he would have written Rocket Man at a much lower range if he'd known it would have such staying power. Tough song to sing. But William Shatner, if you haven't seen it and you really want to feel bad and uncomfortable for somebody, watch his video performing. William Shatner performs Rocket Man in front of a live audience. And Bernie Taupin, who of course wrote the song, introduces him. And you can just see in his face, he's like, I can't believe this is happening. And Shatner, wow, that's all I can say. You got to see it to believe it. All righty. Marcus Kilgore says his other son is an injury. How about that? Spaceman says Robin Zander can still sing. He's amazing. Okay. All right. So look at all these guys are telling me that all these old rockers can still do it. I saw Sammy Hagar in the Circle in Irvine, California in 23. Sammy played and sang great. All right. I guess if you keep your voice, keep working your voice, keep playing your guitar, and arthritis doesn't creep up on you. Gollum Wolf saw ZZ Top in their last tour before Dusty Hill died. Wow. Anyway, enough about rock and roll. Of course, you can never talk about rock and roll enough. But let's take a brief moment here for a commercial interruption, if I may. I guess I'm going to anyway, whether you give me permission or not. It's oh, wait a minute. That's my we'll get to that in a second. Wraith of God, Fear Hollow. The exciting thing about this project is the artwork is done. I finished all the trading card art and putting, the trading cards have backs and information on them. Those are all done, the stretch gold trading cards, and they're off to the printer as of today, earlier today. And I am working on getting the script revisions done and getting those off to the letterer. I was hoping to do it by Thursday or Friday this past week, but too many appointments and driving myself and others around, wasn't able to get to it. But we will this week, and those will get out to the letterer this week. The colorist has the last 15 pages, so I'm sure Jason will be done with those pretty soon. So we're getting really close to the end of this campaign, and I won't shut it down this week, but I will be shutting it down the following week. So if you haven't backed, as you can see, we're at 84,902, almost to 85K. Please consider backing this baby. This is one of the more popular, if I do say so myself, indie books out there in the market right now. And the great thing about Wraith of God and all Empire Comics, which are that's my label, that's what I produce. These are mainstream quality books. Okay. So you don't have to worry about that. And in this particular case, this is the third issue of the Wraith of God series, where the Wraith and Esther go up against the Headless Horseman. Now, see, there's this really young witch and the Headless Horseman from the Wraith's past, when he was 10 years old, maybe. And he had an encounter that we get some flashback on that in this story. So we get some more of the stuff that helped to build the Wraith in this story. And then, of course, he goes back to Cranestown. Get it? Cranestown. And to check to see if what they vanquished 20 years earlier is still, if what they buried 20 years earlier is still buried. And spoiler, it's not. So good times ensue. It's a 65 pages of terrifying action, and you don't want to miss it, folks. Sets up some more big stuff coming down the pike in the next Wraith of God issue. So stay up to date, man. Read your Wraith. There's 4 cover options. There's A, B, that's the old EC cover homage, and the 1972 Marvel cover homage. These are all by me. And then we have the guest artist is Chris Stevens, did this wonderful painted cover. I'm a completist. I'd get all 4 if it were me, but you don't have to. You can just get one. Get your favorite. Here's some of the color interiors. You can get shirts. Look at this. You can get the Bisley shirt from Blood Hunters. That's Wraith of God 2. That's the Bisley cover. You can get it on a shirt. Or you can get the Dale Keown werewolf cover from the very first Wraith of God issue. These are 2 great images on these shirts. I'm not doing any more shirts after this. So if you're thinking, I'll get it next time, there'll be no next time. Get them now. This is the value stamp that goes on the editorial bulletin page. It was a stretch goal that is now has been added to the book. I finished that too, by the way. So that's been proofed and that's ready to go into the book. This is a sculpture trading card, or the art for the trading card. Trunk trading card, art for the trading card, I should say. And this is these are both from the nightclub, which had their own story in as a backup in Wraith of God Blood Hunters, which is Wraith of God 2. This is a beautiful Wraith Nouveau print. You can get this. If you like Muka, this might be right up your alley. Signed and numbered, limited to 500. Wraith of God Roughs, Volume 3. This is 48 pages of rough layouts to the pages to the graphic novel. So if you want to kind of like peel back the curtain, as I say, and get to see what the process was coming up with the page layouts and maybe how they evolved from the rough stages to the final, this is a great book to have. It signed and numbered, limited to orders, not overprinting on that. Shot glasses. Nightclub is our 4th shot glass out of 6. Of course, there's been Wraith of God, Garbage Man, Kit Carter, and now the Nightclub. And of course, we have these heavy-duty clay poker chips, set of 3. And then, of course, Wraith of God 1. That's the second printing, but has a new cover on it. And Wraith of God 2, the award-winning wraparound cover by me, of course. And so you can get caught up on your reading. You can also go to my website and get these books right now if you want. Some of the original art is still for sale. The value stamp art, the trading card art. These are trading cards from the last campaign. That's Lord Menace from Kit Carter. And then, of course, Mr. Midnight from the Nightclub. That original art is all still available, I believe, on the campaign. So you'll find a link in the description of this video. Take you right there. So if you haven't backed, please do so. We're running out of time, folks. Won't be around much longer. Also, I'd like to point out that I have a web page. You'll find a link in the description of this video. Take you right there. It's aaronlopresti.com. All sorts of good, cool stuff you can check out. But let's go to the store because that's got the most stuff in it. Kit Carter, I still have copies of the softcover and a few of the hardcover left. Garbage Man trade paperbacks. If you have not read Garbage Man, you're missing out. I still think it's the best artwork I've ever done in comics. Saved from the Trash sketchbook. Of course, all the covers of... let me go up here and just do books. All the covers to Wraith of God 2 are still available, although I've got very few Tomb of Dracula's and Bisley covers left. I don't have a ton of Tales of Suspense because the print run on the Tales of Suspense cover was really low to begin with. You can get the second printing of Wraith of God #1, the full color cover, or the black and white variant cover. The interior is color, but the cover is black and white without a title. It's a virgin black and white cover. You can get the Kit Carter sketchbook if you want. Power Cubed, I still have some of those. I just have a couple of these Planet Doom ash cans. Also, the Graybeard Studio ash cans, still have 20 of those left. Those are signed and numbered, as well as the Kit Carter is as well. So all sorts of good stuff. Check out the art for sale if you're into that. All kinds of stuff, covers for sale, pinups, pages from comics. There's all the Kit Carter I have for available is on this site, along with some Justice League stuff, Swamp Thing, all kinds of different stuff I did. That's always growing. I'm always putting sketches on here. That's a Werewolf by Night. That Hulk is actually sold, so I could take him down. Conan's still available. That Iron Man, someone asked me about that, and I thought they were going to buy it, but they didn't, so it's still there. A lot of these stuff you saw created on Graybeards. Some of it I just do it recreationally, which drives David Williams crazy. He's like, why are you drawing all the time? What else am I going to do? So yeah, there's all sorts of really cool pieces on here. If you want to stay in that, $150 to $300 range, this is where you'd go. Lots of good stuff, but tons of art for sale, tons of stuff in the store. So check it out. It's AaronLopresti.com. You'll find a link in the description of this video. And there you go. That is your public service announcement for today. Goody Two Shoes for 2. Thank you, Goody Two Shoes. Back to Heckle Lopez, but his books are great. Thank you. Make fun of me all you want. Just back the projects. That's all I ask. Spaceman just said, show the George Jetson sketch. I did. Didn't I just show that? Well, because you demanded it. I did a series. People ask me, why do you draw so many characters smoking? And I do it because I think it's funny. I don't know that anybody else thinks it's funny, but I think it's funny. There's George Jetson smoking. So I've done a series of these characters smoking, and I've sold a couple, but they don't seem to be as popular as I thought they might be. But, you got to have a sense of humor, I guess. But anyway, so these are all sort of, I've got like Frankenstein smoking and Nosferatu smoking, the Mummy smoking, things like that. Hong Kong Phooey smoking, So anyway, there you go. There's George Jetson. All right. Paul Taylor says, George smoking a doobie. No, that's a filtered Camel cigarette, probably. What were the ones that Fred and Barney, they used to do commercials for the Flintstones with Fred and Barney smoking cigarettes, and they were advertising cigarettes. I don't know if it was Winston. I can't remember what they were smoking, but God, that was funny. Sitting along the side of the house, each dragging on their heater, the good old days, huh? That's probably true. There probably was a George Jetson cigarette commercial floating around out there too. Okay. Anyway, all right. So where am I at? I just sort of threw this together, and I got a lot of stuff, but I didn't write down my order of how and when I'm going to do things. So I think we'll do this next. If I can find it. There it is. Edward Vebell or Vebell. I would say Vebell, but don't take me to task on that because I don't know for sure. Okay, I don't need that anymore. I'll close that up. Good. Okay. This is actually a close-up of a smaller piece. I think I have the bigger piece that I'm going to share right after this. But I just thought the faces, the figure work, the gesture. Look at that hand on that guy's hat. It just, I don't know. This is just like well-drawn stuff. So you're asking yourself, maybe you're asking yourself, I don't know, who is this guy? And well, let's give a little background on the gentleman, if we may. He's one of those kind of under the radar illustrators that there's not a ton of info on him. So I had to go to multiple sources to kind of piece together a biography, but he was born in 1921, May 25th, 1921, passed away in 2018 at the ripe old age of 96. Man, it's funny. It's like these illustrators either live forever or they die young. Doesn't seem to be any in between. Now, he was born in Chicago to Lithuanian parents, and he attended art school from the age of 14. So very committed to his art. I never went to art school. What an idiot I am. But anyway, I should have. Also, I was drawing since I was in pre-kindergarten. Should have, but I thought it was better than I was, and that's always a danger. Is this the no, that's not it. There's a bigger version of that, which I just showed you, but that's all right. Let's take a look at some of his other stuff here. Now, like most illustrators of the day, he was illustrating stories and stuff for like Reader's Digest and other magazines. I love this because you got the color here and this kind of dramatic woman, listening, overhearing this conversation. And you got these guys in the background that are just like in black and white. I just found very fascinating way to lay out that drawing. Now, good old Ed. Now listen to this. So after working as an illustrator in Chicago, Vebell enlisted in the United States Army during World War II, which most guys of that age did. He became a staff artist for Stars and Stripes, which was a newspaper that the service produced. And so he avoided getting any combat action by being an illustrator. But what they did do is they sent him out to the front lines for a couple days and to capture, what was happening on the front lines. And I don't know if he took pictures and then drew them later, or he drew while he was out there. But that's, I would still think, that's, you're out there drawing near the front lines with probably not a weapon. I don't know. So he wasn't completely protected. But here's the really interesting thing. He was the official courtroom artist for the Nuremberg war trials. Can you imagine? So this guy was the courtroom artist during the Nuremberg trials. And many of his Nuremberg works are now in the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. As a professional artist and illustrator, his commissions include work for the United States Postal Service and executed commissions for many periodicals, including a long run on Reader's Digest's most popular illustrator. And I'm guessing that's what this is from, is Reader's Digest. He had 3 daughters. After the war, he moved to Westport with his wife, Elsa, and they had 3 daughters. Now, this is something else that I thought was interesting about him, but let me bring up another piece of illustration from this fine illustrator. I love this shot. This is really creative. So you got some chick. Looks like she's hiding out in the trunk of a car. No, where's she? A stowaway? Or wait a minute. The guy must have had her. This Navy guy up here must have had her in his room, and so he's hiding her in like the storage box, whatever, storage chest there. Because if you look, there's a bunk right there. It looks like here's the door to the ship. So I think that's the angle here, but that's just a great shot. I mean, what a great composition. Now listen to this. This was written after he passed away by one of his daughters. She said, "My father, Ed Vebell, passed away peacefully at home last night. He was 96. He had congestive heart failure for some time now, but was bound and determined to make it to the opening of his show at the Westport Historical Society less than 2 weeks ago. It was uncanny how he made it to that and then allowed himself to go. The show was the perfect send-off for him, being surrounded by family and friends who were there to honor his lifetime of work. Now, that's pretty amazing, I think. It's funny when you have people, you know, that are dying or really old, there's something event that they will focus in on and just will themselves to live until that event or whatever it is. And then it's like they go, okay, God, take me, I'm done. And then they're gone. It's amazing how much your will to live controls actually your ability to live. So I thought that was a pretty interesting story. The other thing about Edward, this is a really nice piece here too. This guy was an Olympic fencer in when was it? I'm sorry, was he might have been in the Pan Am Games. What was it? The Pan Am Games in 1951. He was in the United States fencing team and was a quarterfinalist in the Pan Am Games in 1951. So he's this successful commercial artist, and he's a world-class fencer that was on the U.S. Pan Am team, which is, you know, what they do in between Olympic years. So that's pretty impressive. I guess fencing was a thing back in the day, not as interesting to me as it might have been back in America's youth, back in, you know, the 20s and 30s. His faces on his women are very pretty, that's the key, right? If you can draw attractive faces, you got something. This looks like a little bit of dangerous espionage going on here. Nice, interesting combination of gray tone with black and white, or pardon me, with green, and then everything else is gray. Interesting. And I think if you look out the port window, that's green water out there. So I wonder if this I'm sure, well, obviously this was an interior magazine illustration, probably for Reader's Digest, and they were, to save money, maybe only using 2 colors. So he used green and then everything else is black and white. But yeah, so the water's right there. So he's under under the deck of some ship, taking a gun, getting ready for action. So my mom used to get Reader's Digest, and I would, like, as a kid, I would get them and just like read the action adventure stories in there. Sometimes there were excerpts from novels. There was this thing on Jack the Ripper I read. I remember when we did an Jack the Ripper anniversary show, I don't know, 2 years ago. I don't know. I've been doing this show for 5 years, which is freaking amazing to even think about. But it was just like this history of Jack the Ripper, but it was, oh my gosh, I read it when I was young too, scared the crap out of me, but I was compelled. And then I read The Deep, excerpts from The Deep, because Reader's Digest, they wouldn't print the whole book or novel. They would take excerpts out of it. And so that's why I always say the term, give me the Reader's Digest version. In other words, skip the details, just get to the point. And so that's what Reader's Digest used to do. My mom would get this, and I would read a lot of books and stuff, or fragments of books in there. And they always had cool illustrations in them. This is beautiful. Look at this. And again, look at this combination of full color and then the black and white up here. So you got Napoleon, apparently. This French dudes. And then you got these, they look like these would be Middle Eastern gowns that they're wearing, and yet clearly Caucasians. So I don't know. I have to read the story, I guess. But you got some naked chicks back here bathing. Or maybe I would say India is probably where that is, but she's definitely not an Indian. So I don't know, but it's fine with me. Marcus Killiger says, my wife's cousin worked in finance at Reader's Digest for years until they closed down. Oh. Yeah, anyone have the Reader Digest condensed books? That's what I'm talking about. That's what they would do. They'd condense the books in the, and so they'd have like, be split up into 4 or 5 parts, whatever, over several consecutive issues of Reader's Digest. So you start reading something and then, mom misses an issue and you're like, wait a minute, I'm right in the middle of this story and I don't know how it ends, or I don't know what happens. Anti-Entity says, ooh, are we going late? Oh, we're going late. It's late night all the way. And the funny thing is, my viewership when I go late is at least as good as it is during the day and sometimes higher. And I don't know. I don't really want to do it late all the time, though. But I'm not afraid to move it back if I have to, which I did today. Here's just some naval stuff, but still I thought, nice illustration. Looks like could it be watercolor with looks like some whiteout or some acrylic maybe, or gouache. These clouds definitely look like watercolor, and so does the ocean. So I'm gonna go with watercolor here, but see, this is the stuff that I just hate drawing mechanical stuff like this. Now I can do it, I just don't like it. You have to pull out a bunch of reference for this, and but this is a great painting, so kudos to him. Oh, this is kind of fun right here. This is very pulpish looking. Got a little Fu Manchu guy back here and these Asian women here. And then I don't know if this is got guys with guns up here. So spies infiltrating or secret agents or whatever, infiltrating some sort of Chinese racket going on there. I don't know what. Maybe someone said Charlie Chan in the corner right up here. Maybe he has the derby. That could be Charlie Chan's story. How about that? Spaceman knows, obey Fu Manchu or every living thing will die. That poster is now hanging up in my family room, which is a movie room, basically, with movie posters, cameras, and stuff like that. It's kind of fun. Opium. I think you're right, Freaka Boogie. That was the thing, right? Major Corn Dog. Close out tonight? No, it's not going to be till next week, probably. Close out a Wraith of God. But yeah, so like I said, just a week and a half to go on Wraith of God. So get in there and back it if you haven't done so. You'll find a link in the description of this video. Appreciate your support very, very much. So anyway, that's the interesting life of Edward Vebell or Vebell. I don't think he's one of those guys that has like, a book of his stuff published any place. But I came across this stuff and I thought, what, this stuff's pretty good. And then when I read his story, I was like, wow, this is really interesting. And that whole being the courtroom artist for the Nuremberg trials I thought that was pretty amazing, And then of course he's a world-class fencer, which, now of course that's not building fences, that's sword fighting. So, kind of like Zorro or something. All right. Major Corn says, so when are we going to sneak peek for the next offering? Once I close, when am I going to do the sneak peek? I think once I ship Wraith of God 3 to the printers, that's when I will launch the sign up page for the next project and do a big show and reveal what it's going to be and who's involved and all that kind of stuff. So you have to hang tight for about 2 more weeks, I think. But as we're hanging tight, let's do this. Yeah, I was doing comic book. I was trying to do like eras, like, you know, the 60s or the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, blah, blah, blah. And I realized I hadn't done any Joe Kubert covers, and that would have probably fit best, well, 60s and 70s. So I could have done Joe Kubert a long time ago, and I didn't do it. And so I thought, okay, well, let's do it now. It's better late than never, because I am sort of in that crossing over from 70s to 80s artist. And I realized that I'd left Joe out. You just can't do that. And I got quite a few covers here because, man, that guy's got a lot of covers. He was not only exceptional, but prolific. So, and I think I've got one of these covers, I think, is from the 90s. So I guess you could say Joe was a 60s. Actually, I know he started probably in the late 40s. But he, you know, did stuff in the 50s, obviously done a ton of covers in the 60s and 70s, but he also did stuff in the 80s and into the 90s too. So it was, you know, pretty remarkable career, obviously. And one of the most, or the more legendary artists. Okay. Here we go. These are not in any particular order. Although I did save my favorite of his for last, which I'm not going to say is his best, but it's my favorite. And these are all just ones I like. Your mileage may vary. All right, check a look at this. Now, see, this is the 50-cent days. That would have put us in the, that had to be early 80s, didn't it? I always like this cover. I mean, it's particularly horrifying if you really think about it. You got this tiny little girl right there, and look at that guy's knife, just as a clown. You get every indication that he's there to kill her, which is really sick. But I mean, that's a cover where you go, whoa, whoa, whoa. So again, as I say every time we do this, the object is to sell this comic book, to get someone to pick it up off the newsstands. And this is the kind of thing that you would go, whoa, I got to check this out. So very dramatically, that the shadow work on the clown, just, you know, the red, I mean, it just very central focus to the large figure towering over this little girl, and the girl's posture is just, I love it. So anyway, that I think is a good one. Sequential Treasures, James is joining and says, this cover shows why people hate clowns. That's the thing. All right. Maybe I just like this because there's a mummy on it, but I love that sort of goofy pose that mummy's in. I don't know. I really like this cover. I'm not even sure the perspective is what's going on. Oh, these are steps. Okay. I'm not sure what this is right here. I can't really tell. Like, maybe is that oh, I see. It's a sarcophagus. Oh, okay. So there's sarcophagus here, or some sort of Egyptian, like, Sphinx type thing. This is like a big pillar in the Egyptian what am I trying to say? Exhibit. I'm not sure I like the fact that he's using the bottom of the frame as the floor horizon line. But hey, I love everything else about this. You got your creepy monster in the foreground because that's what's selling your book, right? So we want this front and center. He's menacing this poor young lady. And then, excuse me. Then you got this guy framed with this black triangle door shape here. It's really nicely laid out. Although I would have given a little more floor space there. But, you know, who am I to criticize Big Joe? I still love this cover though. I don't own this book, and I should own this book because I like the mummy on it. Jerry Rasco says that looks like a Scooby-Doo mummy. It does. So does Major Corndog. Okay, here we go. I liked his covers on this series too. This is one of my favorite ones. Not my ultimate favorite, but from this run of the Adam and Hawkman. Which this is such a typical example of what do you do when you've got a couple of characters you want to keep, you know, the copyright and trademark on, but they can't sell their own books. You put them together in one book as a team. And the Adam and Hawkman is the most unlikely pairing. To me, it's like Power Man and Iron Fist was just bizarre to me. Although I bought the books because I loved both those characters. But yeah, this is interesting. But I love, again, big central figures. I like the concept, the high concept of them, like, you know, working and somehow they're in Egypt or on a probably some foreign planet with this alien chick there making them lug these boulders. They're all beaten up and torn, you know, like they've been, I don't know. I like it. I always kind of like the Atom. I like this costume. I was never a big Hawkman fan, though. Okay, now here's another one. I actually have this, I think, in that comic rack over there someplace. Let's see, where is it? It's another Adam and Hawkman. I don't know why I like this cover so much, but I like this Gentleman Ghost. Again, the whole concept of the Gentleman Ghost is sort of silly, but at the same time, I just kind of like it. And then you've got, you know, Hawkman being pushed into this sarcophagus. It's just such a crazy image that you're kind of like, I mean, maybe it's just me, but I would pick this book up just because it's so nutty looking that I would like, okay, I'm going to get this. No use struggling, Hawkman. This tomb will be your home for the next 1,000 years. Sometimes Goofy goes a long way with me. A lot of people like the Atom growing up. How about that? All right. Now, this was from Marvel's Heavy Hitters, which was a line of creator-owned books they did. I think it's through the Epic, through Epic label, which was when they did Epic magazine, and they did some creator-owned stuff in there. Then this was like a magazine size, 8.5 by 11. But it wasn't a magazine. It was the cover was really a sturdy, heavy paper. You know, it wasn't newsprint inside. It was, you know, nice paper. But it was a really cool story. Basically, Tor is Joe Kubert's caveman character, and you know me, I love cavemen and dinosaurs. So, what I found out about what I discovered about Joe Kubert when I bought this was how interesting and innovative his story layouts were. You wouldn't think of a guy, an old school guy like that, having these sort of modern sensibilities with page layout and design, but he did. And it gave me another level of respect for him. And so I really like this series. And I like this cover because of it's so dramatic. The pose, this big totem that he's tied to, very interesting looking. You got these sort of ape men coming in from the background. I love how the title is hand drawn. I just think there's a lot of power in this cover. And so that's why it's on here. Marcus Killigrew says, Joe created Tor with Norman Maurer back in the 50s. It was one of the first 3D comics. How about that? So I love Pellucidar. Creative Face said there's a young Cerebus. There is a young Cerebus story in Epic Magazine. Okay. There's a lot of good stuff kind of tucked away in Epic Magazine. It's kind of like heavy metal. I don't think as raw as heavy metal or as adult as heavy metal, but there's some stuff in Epic Magazine, and I didn't read it regularly. I just did it occasionally, so I missed a lot of stuff that I kind of had to go back and find later. Now this, I don't know what the opinions of most on this character, but I always thought Ragman was a pretty cool looking character. And I really dig this cover. I remember when this came out, I bought it because it was a #1 issue, and I was always all over that, even as a wee lad. This was probably 77, maybe 78. I don't know for sure. So I was 13 years old when this came out. Or was it 76? They weren't doing 30-cent comics in 76, were they? Maybe they were. What I like about this cover is, and I didn't appreciate it as much as a kid as I do now. You got this big headshot of the Ragman, right? You got this guy falling through a clothesline, right? Look at the pants coming down here. And then he's dead down here in the bottom panel. I really like, this is something that, you'd see Simonson do or something. Of course, Joe was around a lot longer than Walter was, but it seemed really kind of innovative, cool storytelling right on the cover. So yeah, I'm a Ragman fan. I admit it. I didn't buy DC very often, Paul. So yeah, it is a little bit unprecedented. Let's do a little war comics. Of course, Joe is mainly known for Sergeant Rock and that type of thing. I love Sergeant Rock here. He says, please help me and my buddies. Sure, pray, but pick up your rifle and help yourself. So I don't know if that's, I don't know if there's a purposeful indictment of Christianity there, or if it's just an interesting, I still like it a lot. Oh, this guy, this ugly little guy. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, we romanticize World War II, but can you imagine being on the front lines of World War II? Crazy, man. With literally the world on the line. Of course, I can't imagine being on the front lines of Korea and Vietnam either, like fighting in the jungle. Oh, crazy. But this has got a lot of power. I love his Rock's face in the background and the stance and everything. A lot of energy here. And then this guy's face and the hands and everything in the foreground. Again, nice. Joe did a lot. I call him Joe. I never met him, but Kubert did a lot of storytelling on his covers, which was cool. Yeah, Gil Kane did that as well. where you're not just getting a iconic image, but you're getting something story-wise in there, but still put together really well, powerful, dynamic covers with a story to them as well. So this is kind of a classic one. Another war comic, Enemy Ace from Star Spangled War Stories. So what you've got here, excuse me, yawning. That means it's a late night show. Grease pencil back there during the grays. So he inked it, but then he used a lot of grease pencil to kind of knock it back a little bit, make it more of a ghostly image. And then you've got this dogfight here with the two biplanes going at it. That's pretty cool. This is a pretty iconic cover, pretty memorable cover, well-known cover from Kubert on Enemy Ace, the Hammer of Hell. I always thought it was interesting that they did a series from the perspective of a German fighter pilot in World War I guess, right? They certainly weren't using those in World War II. Paul Taylor says the Lord helps those who help themselves. That's actually not biblical. That's not in the Bible, but many people think it is. Paul Taylor also says, my dad said it was a terrible waste of life, referring to World War II. All those young men who should have been out having fun. He thought the old men that started the wars should have been the ones who fought them. Yeah. Never works out that way, though, does it? That is an excellent question. But if you look real closely here, Jerry, the line from the goggles goes into the line of the smoke, which leads me to believe this is all on the same board. Look at that line from the nose is going into the smoke there as well. Look at how loose and rough these lines are. It's crazy. We're so caught up today in like really perfect inking. And these guys were, they're just about capturing the essence and, getting this stuff done. But, I can't even imagine seeing a Kubert piece now with a real slick ink job. Like it wouldn't even look like his work, But I think it's a pretty cool cover there. Now this one, I just saw this one recently when I was hunting down Kubert covers. The drama on this is so over the top. I love it. The guy just clutching his face and his head. My brother's dead. The wrong man was killed. I mean, if you can't feel the raw emotion and drama in this guy's stance, I mean, you talk about storytelling. That's freaking crazy. Who would think to do that? I probably would have done with his arms out going, no, the typical, but that is just such a great dramatic pose. I just love it. And I hadn't seen this before. I just came across it and I was like, wow, instant favorite. Look at this look at this lettering. This lettering is so good. This, like that special right there. Man. The good old days, man. Get rid of the computers. Let's get back to pencil on paper. And doing our lettering by hand. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Getting vintage. That's a great cover, though. Paul Taylor for $10 Canadian. Thank you, Paul. Paul, of course, is our resident biologist, and he just can't wait to look at our newest Bigfoot videos. I'm not that familiar with Kubert other than his Tarzan work. I like the later time slot. Well, I used to have a later time slot. Because we used to air live at 5 o'clock Pacific time, which is 8 o'clock. But then Ethan started streaming against me and just destroying my audience. So I decided to go earlier. But he's not as consistent on Sundays streaming anymore. So I could move to a later time slot. It's always something to think about. This is kind of a classic cover as well. I got a lot more Kubert covers than I thought I was going to have, just because there's so many. I mean, there's so many to choose from. There's a couple I left off that I really like, but I remember this one. It's Sergeant Rock, where he's like half caveman, half Sergeant Rock. I'm like, yeah. Now, I wasn't collecting comics back in the 15-cent days because I wasn't old enough yet. That would have been 1970 and 71, maybe. So I was only 6 years old, 5 years old. But I would have bought this book if I'd seen it, just for the half caveman. I didn't care about. I wasn't an army guy, not like Billy Tucci. I didn't really like war comics that much, but caveman and dinosaurs, come on, I'm all over that. Paul Taylor says his first comic was at 20 cents. Mine too. Frankenstein #7, the Marvel's Frankenstein monster, or the monster of Frankenstein. What was it called? One of those two. But anyway, Marvel's Frankenstein #7. First comic I ever bought with my own money. Now, the first comic book I ever owned, my mom got me, and that was FF 112, Hulk versus Thing, black cover, and Amazing Adventures #8, Black Bolt and Thor fighting, Neil Adams cover. Those are the first two I ever owned. My mom got for me. I picked up a Spider-Man. What number was it? 113 with Doc Ock. It was like a newspaper on the cover, and I think Doc Ock and Spider-Man were ripping through it or something. And I picked that up. I was like in grade school, and they used to do these, like, we had carnival night at grade school, and where they would, just as a fundraiser, I guess, for the school. I have no idea. And like they had, like, in the back row of the school, the last hallway, they had like these people setting up like a flea market, and somebody had a beat up copy of that Spider-Man 113, which is a 20 center, so that would have been 74, maybe 73, 74. I was a wee lad, but I remember giving him a dime for it or something, and I took that home and read it, but it was just beat to crap. But yeah, that was first one I actually went to 7-Eleven and bought was that Frankenstein. Okay, now this one I have on here on my favorites list because it's so ridiculously funny. I'm sorry, Flash. The leg is useless. You'll never run again. What did he do to his foot? His girlfriend's crying. He'll never run again. And the nurse is back there in the background. I like this old doctor here. This is one of those, absurd DC covers, right? If you look at Marvel covers, the superheroes were always fighting somebody. But, in DC, it's like Fat Superman or Fat Superboy or Big-Headed Green Lantern and Flash, or Flash hurt his foot. I mean, it's just like, it was like Marvel in the 60s had a bunch of young guys coming up with really cool storylines, and the DC was full of guys from like the 40s and 50s who were still like, had these sort of dumb ideas. But I love this cover regardless. So Phil Diaz is in the chat. Hey, Phil, how you doing? Paul Taylor knows this issue very well, apparently. Says he knows Flash sprained his ankle and was walking around on crutches in his full costume. Captain Cold and Heat Wave. So Captain Cold and then his opposite, Heat Wave, Fire and Ice, if you will, each zapped him with their guns and fixed his ankle. Oh. Did they do it on purpose? I mean, they didn't purposely fix his ankle, but it was like a side effect of them shooting him with, all right, put some ice on that, then put some heat on it, then put some ice on it, put some heat on it, and boom, he's well again. So there you have it. What a fantastic DC story. I'm sorry I missed it. Now, this, and I'm not just pushing this because I'm a Christian. I'm pushing this because this book is awesome. The interior of it with Nestor Redondo's work in this, it's beautiful. I mean, if you just want to look at really nice artwork, get this treasury edition of the Bible. But yeah, this look at that Moses figure there by Kubert here on this wraparound cover. And just beautiful artwork on the inside by Nestor Redondo. But I love this, like, look at that. It's like Moses looks pissed. Don't mess with Moses. Can you imagine Marvel or DC publishing Bible stories now? Seems very unlikely. But this is a great book. You can get your hands on it. Marcus Killigrew's posting Phil's The Man with No Strings link in there. That looks like a pretty cool Western. You guys should check that out if you haven't done so already. There you go. Jiminy Cricket says, love that book. It's one of the favorites in my collection. Paul Taylor says $41.95. Who came up with that price? $41.95 on eBay right now. These treasury editions are getting expensive. Like, you could get them for $10 a dozen anywhere. And then they just sort of like, people are like, these are pretty cool. And suddenly now they're kind of expensive. I already have this, so I don't have to go and get it. All right, here we go. That's with a lot of Kubert tonight, and that's fine. He certainly deserves the attention. But this is my favorite all-time Kubert cover. Are you ready? And probably because it's my favorite is because I saw it in one of the old Overstreet price guides in the cover gallery in the back of those books, which I used to love perusing as a wee lad. And I remember seeing that cover and just going, it was so dramatic, right? I mean, Hawkman looks monstrous. His bird, Lucky, or whatever his name was, is dead. And then, looks like the Atom is dead as he's holding him in his hand. I thought he was like before I really understood what it was, I thought, Hawkman's giant, But it just, this is like, it's so dramatic. I just love it. And I actually own this. I went out, got a copy, not graded, probably about a 9.0, but it's not graded. For those of you who want to mock me, just because I had to have the cover. It's not really all that expensive a book, but it's just it's a iconic to me. This is an iconic cover. So there you go. That's sort of our look at Groovy Joe Kubert tonight. There's a look at me. Okay. What time is it? It's 9:15 my time. When do we start the show? Around 7:30? Yeah, okay. We're right on schedule for about 2 hours, which is what I like to do. I don't like to go too much longer than that, especially since I'm keeping you guys up. But we've got a lot of, I was going to say good videos tonight, but that would be lying. Then I was going to say interesting videos, and that would probably be lying. Let me just say that we've got a lot of videos tonight. All right, so let's get into it. I find it interesting that the more and more that technology is readily available to anybody, then we're seeing more Bigfoot videos than we've ever seen before. I wonder, I'm not sure. I'm not getting the coalition. Okay. This is one I like to call Antifa Bigfoot. Now you'll see why in a minute. All right, here we go. So apparently this guy with a mask on outside. All right. So this is your first indication this person, you can't trust anything they say. If they're wearing a mask outside, even if you're wearing a mask inside, but if you're wearing a mask outside, there's nothing you can tell me that I'm going to believe. But let's see what he has to offer. He says he saw something. Yeah, there it is. That's what he saw right there in his backyard, practically. It looks like my 19-month-old grandson dancing. You know, they kind of just bounce up and down. So he's sitting there filming this. It's got to be with his iPhone, right? And that's the best picture he can get. My iPhone does a lot better than that. This could be a fat guy with a hoodie on, for all we know. But I'm not even sure that it's moving. I mean, he's bouncing the camera, but that thing hasn't like taken a step. It's still in the same spot. So is it just standing there? Is this like oh, I guess the arms moved out there, right? Yeah, it looks like they're. Eric Boyd says the clarity of this video is astounding. I agree. It's like, it's next level. Lafayette, my hubby just came in to watch Finding Bigfoot, but it's not Finding Bigfoot because Pity Ma's husband, we never find Bigfoot on this show. We're always looking though. It's John and Shane having fun. I'm like, oh my gosh. Paul Taylor wants to know, is he wearing the mask so Bigfoot doesn't recognize him? Well, you know, if Bigfoot's out in your backyard like this, you know, I think he already knows where you live at this point. I'm not going to run through this again because, quite frankly, there's nothing to see here, folks. I don't even. This is the best part, though. And when an Antifa guy says, you know, I'm going to go burn this town to the ground, but first, let me take this video of Bigfoot in my backyard. So there you go. That's Antifa Bigfoot. Now this one is snowshoe Bigfoot. So we're going. I don't know where this is at. Most of the time, they don't know themselves because they never post where it's at. But at least he's got it circled for us so we can see what we're supposed to see. Okay, let's watch. So there's something here, somebody maybe, or something. A lot of birch trees there. Okay, whoa, whoa. Let's take a closer look at this. Does that guy have a snowshoe on? Kind of looks like he does, doesn't it? That's a pretty big clodhopper right there. And look how gingerly he's walking through the woods like he does. He's trying to keep from falling down. Watch out for that. What? Here we go. Oh, don't get my foot caught on there. That dude has look at that. He has, don't tell me he does not have snowshoes on. Right there. Look. Oh, wait a minute. Where is it? Okay. Boom. I don't know. I think that guy has snowshoes on. And then he goes, oh, we got more coming. Oh, there he goes. You know, there's nothing better than taking a blurry movie and then zooming in on it so we can see it even more blurry. Now it looks like a guy with a hood on right there. Doesn't that look like a guy with a hood? Right there. That's McCready's jacket from The Thing. He might even have his cowboy hat on or whatever. So right there, look at that point right there. That's a guy with a hood. There's his coat. Look at, you can see that, is that the tail of his coat right there? Incredible. It's incredible. Now, of course, I don't want to sway you guys, sway your opinions in any direction. So I shouldn't be saying these things. I'll let you decide for yourselves. Creative Face says that's a fur trapper. These modern Bigfoots kind of look like Ewoks or Chewbacca. Yes, says Freakaboogie. Well, Dale, of course, is stating the obvious. It's Bigfoot, so he has big feet, Aaron. But it looked like maybe some snowshoes were involved there. Okay, and of course, Kelsey on the run for some smokes, perhaps. Paul says the birch trees are in focus, but Bigfoot isn't. Paul Taylor says that is fake. It's lame, and don't give up your day job. But then Paul Sartzis says, no, we finally found Bigfoot. So Paulus is a believer while Paul is a cynic. I'll just leave it at that. I mean, sure, these could be real. All right. All right. Now this is apparently an Australian Bigfoot. Where's Michael Bancroft when you need him? See if we can verify this. All right, that's a deer. Okay, here we go. See, that's a deer right there, or a mountain lion or a bobcat. I don't know what it is, but it's not Bigfoot. But then it goes to this. Look at this. Woo! Okay, this is, this is a series of still photos taken by, allegedly, by a trail cam. I love this one. Okay, let's back up here. Look at him lift that leg up right there. Is that his leg right there? Like he's taking a big old step. Is that, I mean, am I looking at this picture completely wrong? Is this like, is that his knee and that's his leg? I mean, what's he doing? Is he dancing? Am I looking at this wrong? Because that's a leg right there. I assume this is his head, right? Or is that his other arm? I don't know, man. That's how I'm seeing it. I don't know if that's what it is or not. I love it. They keep showing it like, oh, we'll do it in sepia tone. We'll do it in black, like that's going to improve it. Yeah, I'm not really sure what is going on. I mean, okay, wait a minute. What? Seriously. Okay, so this is his head, right? Is this his arm? And then this is his leg, right? I mean, he's like, why would he walk like that? Yeah, exactly. Blue Neptune said he stepped on poop. Exactly. Green Laser says, no, that's just bad AI. Bad Photoshop, says Creative Faye. Creative Faye. Yeah, I know Michael Bancroft is down under that. This is supposed to be in Australia. So I thought maybe he'd know about it. Paul Taylor said, I'm surprised one of the saltwater crocs didn't get him. Maybe they did. That's why we can't find him. We got this foot, and then he got eaten like 15 minutes after this, and now you can't find Bigfoot. So anyway, that's his, yeah. They circled him in red in case you missed it. Yeah, thank you for zooming in. What are we even looking at here? Okay, hang on a second. Okay, so this is a shoulder and an arm here. That's his head, and it's kind of hunched over, and these are his two legs. Is that what I'm looking at here? I mean, isn't that what? And remember last week we looked at that trail cam footage of all those wolves at night and how clear it was. And yet Bigfoot, they just can't get it to work. Again, this supports the theory that Bigfoot is an interdimensional being and he's constantly phasing in and out. And that's why we can't ever see him clearly. All right. You may be saying, Aaron, please don't show me anymore, but I'm going to. Let's take a look at this. This, I call this strolling Bigfoot. This is kind of a casual Bigfoot video, but not a bad one. Here we go. Now, here's the interesting phenomena about this. Okay, so you've got this pretty good shot of Bigfoot walking here, right? And then watch, he goes behind that tree. The camera dips down and he completely disappears. He's totally gone. Where'd he go? Is he hiding behind that tree now? It's just like, so the person brings the camera down so they can get a better shot and then he disappears. This is one of the, I mean, I got to admit, this is one of the clearer Bigfoot videos. But of course, we still can't see anything. To me, I kind of feel like this looks like maybe a guy, again, with a hoodie and a jacket on, right? Look at that picture, right? Well, let's see. We don't get much, but does that not look like a jacket right here and a hoodie, and like he has gray sleeves right here and pants on? Kind of is what it looks like to me. It just looks like a regular guy wearing baggy clothes is what it looks like to me. Now, I could be wrong, of course. This could be the Bigfoot sighting we've been waiting for. But I'm more intrigued not by the fact that whether or not this may or may not be Bigfoot, but the fact that it just disappears. As soon as she or he, whoever, lowers the camera, look at Doot walking right there, and boom, disappears. Now I'm wondering if in this tree right here, maybe there's a doorway right here. So he steps into this and it takes him to an underground chamber. You know, that could be a possibility there. I mean, we don't see him like poking his head out around the tree or anything, or walking off in the distance. Just disappears. It's remarkable. It's like a magic trick. It's like a Bigfoot magic trick. So you're getting Bigfoot and a magic trick on the same video, which actually makes this like top level. Pity Ma's whole family's getting in on this. Look out. It's trouble. So Pity Ma's mom is saying this is fake. She does not believe this. Sequential Treasure says Bigfoot's toilet is inside the tree. Okay, that like an outhouse. Okay. Spaceman says could be an interdimensional gateway. Creative Face says they ran out of CPU for the computer graphics, so he just disappeared. Yeah, but see, my feeling is if that's computer graphics, you got to be able to do better than that. I mean, I'm thinking that's a guy in baggy clothes. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but if that's like computer generated, that's horrible. That's even worse than a guy in baggy clothes. All right, so hopefully that won't haunt your dreams too much. Now, here's our last one of the night, but this is New Jersey Bigfoot, and I think this one actually may be the longest video I've ever seen of a Bigfoot. If I'm remembering correctly, I may be wrong. I go through so many of these, but let's watch. So right up here, right now, the guy's pointing his finger up there to say, okay, look at. He's walking around over there. Now he starts up the hill, right? He's walking around, and where is he? Where is he? Where is he? Do we lose him? Okay, we're starting over again. Okay, now here's my problem. Okay, now if you're shooting this with your iPhone, right? Would you be able to? I mean, how does he know where? I guess you could see your. Would you be? You can't see your finger. It's not like you have a viewfinder, do you? Or do you? Maybe some of those phones do have viewfinders on them now. Mine doesn't. I guess. Well, I guess you use your whole screen, right? I'm looking at my iPhone here, and I'm trying to figure out. Okay, so if I took a camera picture, would I be able to? Oh yeah, I guess I would. Could stick my finger in front of it and say, okay, there he is right there. Okay, all right. I take it back. So he's trying really hard to let us know where he's at. And while he's filming this, so I love this guy's courage. He's staring Bigfoot in the face, and he's pointing with his finger to let you know where he's at. Now, look how pixelated Bigfoot looks when he's walking there. Doesn't he look pixelated to you? And also, look at this. Okay, so we start with this camera angle right here. Now here comes the finger. Okay. And then we cut. And then it cuts again here to just slightly different angle. I'm not sure if that means anything or not, but it's like, why are you stopping the camera and changing? You know, it's not like this. It's not the same angle. So he zooms in. And also, this looks more like a Littlefoot than it looks like a Bigfoot. That does not look like a giant creature to me. Looks like a short, stubby guy. Looks a little bit thicker here, but on that opening shot, okay. All right, let's move. See, that doesn't look like a very big character. Now, this part right here I kind of like, although it's blurry. It's like has motion blurs to it, which makes me very suspicious. This first part I don't like that much, where he steps over the log. He just seems like a dude walking along. I'll take a step over here. Now this I kind of see how it cuts right there to a different angle, right in the middle when he's walking. I'm not sure I understand why, but he looks a little bulkier here. You know, he's got his arms hanging down, swinging. Maybe looks a little bit more ape-like creature here than he did in that first. But I think Sequential Treasure says it's Chris Christie looking for some Krispy Kreme donuts. Well, it is New Jersey. It could be. Gemini Dragon still pushing for it's Ethan. Took a wrong turn when he went to get pie. And Kettle Black agrees with that. That's Ethan getting lost because of lack of pies. Yeah, Paul Taylor says Maynard should get his finger out of the shot. It's pretty obvious where Bigfoot is. Yeah, it's not like you can miss him here. This is one of the better videos, and it's still horrible. Have we set our standards that low that I'm calling this a pretty good video? So I see. So now look at him. He's walking along here. Now he circles back. So I'm saying there's a lot of footage here. That's what they wish he looked like. But that's not what he looks like. So I give him credit. There's a lot of footage here. None of it's clear, but we get a lot of screen time here. Again, I question why these leaves are pretty much in focus. And I know this is farther down, but this is the daylight there should give you some pretty good depth of field. I don't think it should be that blurry as it is. So it's either been doctored or it's a complete fabrication. So it's either doctored photography or complete fabrication video. Can you go to AI and say, produce me a 5-second blurry Bigfoot video? I bet you could now, right? And it probably would make it. Someone should try that knows how to, mess around with that AI stuff. I bet you could. Alex Art, very good point. Do you understand how scared you would be if that was real? Come on, guys. Yeah, I would be like, be about if I saw a bear, I would get the heck out of there. This guy might turn and run after you. And I don't know. But of course, if he's not really there, or if it's your buddy in a suit and you blurred the shot, probably not as worried about getting attacked. Now, interesting enough, I think I mentioned last week that I went to Spirit of Halloween shops, those things they set up for a month, those big warehouse stores full of Halloween stuff. No Bigfoot costumes. A little disappointed, actually. They had all sorts of animatronic stuff, cheap animatronic stuff, but, it's Halloween. Masks and the whole hats and the makeup and skeletons and, whatever. No Bigfoot. No Bigfoot costume or mask. That was a little disappointing because I could have scored a Bigfoot costume and then made my own video, blurred it up a little bit, and you guys wouldn't be able to tell the difference. You'd say, man, that's legit, Aaron. Tell us your story. And of course, I'd have to write an incredible story to kind of draw you in, to really make you a believer of my fake video. But alas, no Bigfoot costume to be found at Spirit of Halloween. So anyway. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this evening. I want to thank you all for joining me, this late night extravaganza. Who knows? Maybe we'll do it more often. Please hit the like and subscribe if you're new here. I greatly appreciate it. Helps the channel grow, of course. And if you haven't backed Wraith of God 3 Fear Hollow, please consider doing so. There it is. You'll find a link in the description of this video. Take you right to this campaign. We are knocking on the door of 85,000. Love to see this thing get to 90 before it's completely closed out. So got less than 2 weeks, probably about a week and a half before I shut this down. So get over there and back it. You won't be sorry. I guarantee it. So anyway, thanks for the super chats, everybody. I'm going to check those real quick, make sure I didn't miss anything. I do not believe I did. I didn't. Thank you, guys. Take care. We'll see you next time right here on Aaron Live. Good night, everybody.